Thanks for tuning into the Carrie Hannah podcast. Here's your host, Bryce and Kevin.
Welcome back to the Carrie Handle Podcast. My name is Bryce. With me, as always, is Kevin. And I don't think I'd ever make a good musician because I never know when to come in on a beat or on a tone.
Yeah, you just stopped that intro so abruptly.
Well, okay, so I'm too lazy to edit the fade out. And then okay, so that's out of necessity. Before I introduce the guest who we have, I promise, hold on, a really quick rant. I have to edit episodes immediately after we finish them because I will never do it.
This is true. This is absolutely true.
I have to. I can't be trusted. I cannot be trusted unless I have the thing in front of me. It doesn't exist. So with that being said, Kevin, we have a guest with us, a very, very interesting special guest. Who is that guest?
We have a guest. Yes, we have Mr. Jeff
of Modern Tactical Shooting. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to come down, or not on, down? Come on our show.
Come on.
Yeah, the proverbial down. Come on down. We followed your work for a while, and we're big fans. But for the people that don't know, would you mind giving us just an introduction to who you are?
All right, I'm Jeff Gurwitch. I guess my main claim to fame is retired Green Beret, 26 years in the Army. I spent 19 years in SF. And of course, I run Modern Tactical Shooting, which is, I started out as a training company and I made YouTube to promote my company. And now I've morphed into mainly doing YouTube, which is really firearm centric, but really in the last year, I probably am best known for my Special Forces history videos.
Yeah, that's definitely where
cool.
I've really been getting really interested in it because we talk a lot on this show about GWAT I would say about 60s to about GWAT. That's
like Vietnam to GWAT. Yeah,
that's basically our area of study. So if there was an AR-15 in the conflict primarily, that's where I'm interested probably. So with that being said, what seems to be in the air recently, and gentlemen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is something somewhat potentially of an AR fatigue, and if not an AR fatigue, a 5.56 fatigue. And I believe Kevin was talking a little bit off air. He was touching on Bren's and 5.45. What is your pitch for rifles moving forward? Because I know we've been talking about ideal calibers. Pitch us your thought. You were telling me earlier.
Oh, me?
You're not. Yeah, you're the only Kevin here.
I am. Yeah. No, it wasn't really a thought. I was watching a recent video. And it was an interesting thought to get away from 5.56 and morph into different calibers. And 5.45 is interesting, but it's not. I don't know too much about it. I'm so fuddish, if you will, when it comes to calibers that I'm used to just the 5.56 because that's the only thing I've ever seen in my life. I'd be interested in trying 5.45 or trying, other different calibers and different guns, but I don't know. I'm not.
Well, I know one of the big talking points, and Jeff can definitely talk to this. He has a great video on it. Is the or a few videos, I guess, on the M7. What are they calling it? What's the right?
Yes, it's the M7. It's officially
the M7. So it seems like, Jeff, would you say that we're battle rifles are in the air again? Are we trying to make more battle rifles again?
Well, the problem is the Army thinks bigger bullet is bigger damage generically. So they neglect performance built into the size of the caliber. They just generically think if we make a bigger bullet, it'll cause horrendous wounds all the way around. But they neglect the fact about the increased recoil, limited magazine size, basically the overall shootability of the rifle itself. And honestly, if you put enough money into it, you can make a bullet do anything you want, regardless of the caliber.
Right.
And that's why I think anything past 6mm in size, the payoff is not there in terms of the recoil and things like that. Maybe 6.5. 6.5 is as biggest I would go.
Yeah.
But I think a modern 5.56 round or even a 545, like I talked about that in that one video. And
Mhm.
that's why I touched on 545 because ballistically, it does great things in the body. Something that's lost with M855, has that old school yaw in the body, more tissue
Mhm.
damage, things like that. But it's just the army mentality of, hey, let's just go bigger bullet and that will solve the issue.
It's interesting you talk
Yeah.
about that. We had a ballast or a friend of the show, Boondock ballistician. She full-time ballistician. So she knows exactly what she's talking about, which is refreshing. But we were talking about
Items.
modern ammunition design and how 223.556 is old, antiquated ammo. It's a very old design. Now we have a lot of it in inventory, and there's a lot of guns that take it, so it's easy for us to choose it. But does it make sense for you and I, or even does it make sense in a battlefield usage if you're trying to make it bigger or make it smaller? And so I think it's more of an interesting conversation when you say 545 or an existing caliber. And I've been thinking lately, and I actually just wrote an article about this about is the AR-15s good for a lot of people, but I don't think it's perfect for anybody in a civilian's context. I have no military experience,
Right.
obviously,
Same.
but in terms of civilians, my how I view AR-15 usership is cops and soldiers use the AR-15. They sh- a lot of people get shot by 5.56, so we have a lot of data that we can observe from that. 9 millimeters, the same deal if you want to talk about concealed carry calibers or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's really easy to make a choice and say, hey, I'm choosing this caliber because X amount of people use it and this whatever, without thinking, is it optimized for what you actually need? Do you know what you actually need? And I think it's an interesting proposition. So instead of, especially when we talk about limited capacity size, we talk about more recoil and there's might be more terminal effect, but there's a lot more coming back at you. So that's what I hear when you say it's there's more coming out. It's like as a shooter, you're getting thrown around more. You're heavier. You have less ammo. You have and it's interesting because the AR-15 when it was designed was combating just that. It was we want a wooden steel 308 battle rifle and the AR-15 is the exact opposite. It's aluminum and meant for volume of fire, really easily controlled, fully automatic. So it's an interesting dichotomy, at least, between what we have going and then just this revisiting again. So it's very cyclical. So
Well, I mean, is 5.56, is it getting out of date? One could say that.
mhm,
Uh, but, one thing you do not hear about, Ukraine's been going on for 3 years now. Do you hear
Mhm.
them complaining about 5.56 being ineffective?
no,
Nope.
It's all about shot placement
hmm
and P for plenty. Anything worth shooting once is worth giving half a mag to.
yes,
Yep.
And the Army did a huge study on this actually around probably 2005, 2006. It's I forget the actual name of the study. It's the Joint Wound Ballistic Report, something like that. I've talked about it a few times.
they
They
reference it
found
in the NATO program, right?
they might, but they talked about two
Mhm.
flaws. First was a training flaw where they're teaching soldiers to shoot center mass. Well, they don't incorporate the drop offset for the optics. So center mass means gut shots. And
Yeah.
then they also talk about the flaw of just the double tap. And they found through training, if you just raise the point of aim where you put your optic at the neck, it makes up for the offset of the optic, and you're going to put heart and lung all day long. And then,
hmm
of course, thing I talked about a lot, we made a huge shift to in special forces around 2006. We went from double taps to at least a 5 round string, and you drive the threat down. And that
Okay.
really makes
Okay.
up any deficiency for 5.56.
hmm
And if you make it your automatic response where you give them at least a 5 round string, that's going to solve a lot of your inefficiencies with 5.56. Because, yeah, M855 and M855A1 at room distance, it is zipping through. So
Yeah.
you do have to make up for that. But
Yeah, you're
uh,
just clearing and poking holes, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
I've seen firsthand, I've seen one shot stops with M855. You get a shot through the spine on a threat, they're not doing
Right.
much after that.
Yeah. Lights
Well, I
out.
mean, okay, so yeah, that's where that turns into is just instead of P for plenty, it turns into where it's going. So it's split the middle. Okay, that's interesting. that almost, I mean, Kevin and I have, it's good to have you on for somebody that can actually attest to that, because we like to play with
Well, I know
theories a lot.
well, I know 5.56 was, like, originally it's for wounded, when they want like big armies ideas, like, if you wound a soldier, it takes more to care for that soldier than a
And
dead
there's
soldier.
validity to that. We all wanna
Mm,
put down the threat as fast as possible.
Right,
Uh, the whole generic stopping power, which I know there is no, like, measure of stopping power.
right.
It's not like in the movies. If you do wounded insurgent, especially at any sort of distance, yeah, they're out of the fight. They don't sit there and fight to the death and all that stuff.
yeah.
So, when we're getting in these engagements, when you see a threat fall after you shoot
Mm,
him at distance, yeah, you don't know if he's wounded or dead, but you could pretty much count him out of the fight. Where it really matters is up close at the CQB distance. You do have to stop them from whatever they're doing. So if they're trying to shoot
Mhm.
you, you have to truly neutralize them. Well, that's where we drive the threat down with at least a 5-round string. So
Right,
you
to
just drive
just
the threat down. And whether
Yep,
they're dead when they hit the floor or they're bleeding out and they're still alive, it doesn't matter. You stopped them from what they were doing, and that's usually good enough.
yep. Okay,
So,
I like that.
really quickly, just as a quick aside, I just out of curiosity, I know, I'm sure this is common knowledge, but MACV-SOG often had engagements where they would empty 8 to 900 round, loadouts? I mean, they'd be picking magazines off of dead guys, and then that later influenced potentially the SOCOM barrel. And so how much of that, in terms of engagements, were you seeing? How much, like, were you dumping that much ammo in an engagement or on a deployment or on whatever
Suppression
patrol?
fire is a thing, and the Army is
Yeah,
ignoring that with the M7.
that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
To be able to maneuver and close to get those kill shots, you have to be able to lay down suppressive fire. You have to win that fight, and they're ignoring that with the M7. They think everybody's gonna be a bunch of one-shot, one-kill soldiers. That's not
Right.
true. So that is why I despise the whole 20-round mags, and their basic loads cut in half now.
Mhm.
And that one Army captain critiqued it, how when they were trying to lay down suppressive fire, they lasted, what, all of a half an hour or something like that.
Right, right. Right, you're
You
not covering
truly need
movements with,
that,
I mean,
in a
who the hell is
full-blown.
you just need somebody to carry ammo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we go back to the Falkland Islands, when they're running their SLRs, there was one report of
Right.
a Brit. He had his basic load on him, and I believe he had, like, 100 loose rounds on him or 200 loose rounds, and during Goose Green, he was still picking up magazines from the dead to use because his
Jesus.
7.62 basic load was only like 100 rounds or
Yeah.
140, 5 or 6 mags too. That's just one reference. And I'm sure there's countless stories in Vietnam with the M14. Uh,
Yeah.
what was the ammo expenditure like? How long did it last them in a fight?
Well, and
And
they
I'm
were
always,
welding mags together to get
yeah,
more ammo.
I'd rather have more ammo on me than not.
Right.
And in GWAT, because it's an insurgency, well, in special operations, a lot of guys did not carry a standard basic load. Actually, they carried only 3 or 4 rifle mags on them,
Wow.
R
which,
really?
yeah. Well, one, because we had speedballs set up, and if you need ammo, we're gonna get it. We're not like the regular army.
Okay.
And
Okay.
also, they're like, "Hey," and it's true, half your commandos you go out with aren't gonna fight. They have mags on them, so you just take their mags.
Right.
But
Okay.
that's
So
not
they basically
going
just feed the fight then.
Yeah, but that's not gonna be the case in the next conflict. In the next conflict, and I always refer back to Ukraine because that's the show going on in town right now. I
Mhm.
mean, those guys are carrying 10 or 12 mags, and things like that. So, uh,
And they really like thermal.
yeah, anything to give you the edge. But again, they're not complaining a whole lot about 5.56, and I've talked to a few people who have been fighting over there. Some of them have access to black tip and they use it a lot. Some are
Mhm.
just rocking normal 8.55, and then a lot of them are like, "Hey, 7.62 by 39 still getting it done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question then is, so you're saying specifically with M855, you were, especially, what, bad breath distances, you're not getting a lot of immediate stops short of a spinal column or something, like
Yeah, no,
belt girdle.
Zip
you truly
'em.
gotta drive them down unless you get a
Okay,
headshot.
so did you did you s did you see any serious difference, like, depending on loadouts, like, between 77, 62, and 55, or is it just a caliber specific thing?
Well,
And I'm not talking
I
the
rock
distance.
70 I rock 77 grain the entire time.
Okay.
I
Well,
never
then I
carried
guess that
any.
answers the question.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
honestly, I didn't have any like up close CQB shots. The threats I hit were between 1 and 450 yards, so you're medium to long range.
Okay.
So
That's interesting. Well, it's interesting because I mean we have been talking about what the ideal rifle would look like. And for me what that looked like was as a civilian what is the perfect thing for me? And my engagements aren't 200 yards and my engagements or
You're
they're
in
200
the
yards and in probably at
yeah,
least for where I
50,
live.
50 to
Yeah.
200 probably.
And even then, I think it'd be a really hard time for me to justify that. And it's like, no, 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 no. It made sense for me to shoot him that far away. I promise. But it's interesting to see what actual informed decisions will do and change how you engage a solution or a problem. Because
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, man, that actually makes me kind
Did,
of think how I'm
well,
approaching that.
we were just talking
well,
about
I
the
mean,
Mars
if you're
rifle
just looking
too.
for a self-defense round to cause a lot of
Yeah,
tissue damage,
Hmm.
you can't get it right now because of the war, but a 7.62 by 39. That's why we
yeah,
created 300
that
Blackout.
makes
We
sense.
wanted a round with that up close tissue damage.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and we've been talking about the, I guess, more civilian cartridges recently, like the 6 ARC and I guess like the Swick cartridges and some of the just some of the more wildcat loads. Just because I've been
Yeah.
getting into the, I guess, the ballistics of it and just kind of nerding out with the science. But it's it's interesting to see how you can flex one round, kind of like what we were just talking about with the 77 from a 55 grain. How much you can flex that round and push it into different roles. And realistically, I mean, the amount of trigger press versus recoil and effect downrange, it is pretty unparalleled. I will have to admit. Uh, however, one one thing that Kevin will not agree with that
Mm,
I feel is a 7-inch AR can still bring smiles to my face.
no, I don't
Okay,
like it.
so I prime that because I know Jeff might have a little bit of experience with something around that size.
Oh, some experience.
Well, I mean, I have a 7.5-inch AR. Uh, I actually tried to take one on a deployment, and of course, they told me no way. But I want to take it for a PDW, and yes, is there massive energy dump off past 150 yards? But within 150 yards, I'm going to say it's better
Right.
than carrying a submachine gun, better than 9 mil in an MP5 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. See, that I think is a very compelling point for that. Also, it's loud as hell, so it's super scary. But on a more real note, I I've been struggling to get mine to run, but mine is I have a seven. Well, actually, the viewers can't see it, but Jeff might be able to. But I built this abomination.
Is it
This
direct
very
gas?
it's trying to be.
Well, there's the
I
issue. So
I
you got to go
know, I
piston.
know. I
Got to
turned
go
it into
piston.
a CMMG or a 22 for my wife. But I was gonna ask you, uh, you're running the Adams pistol?
Adam's arms, and I have fur friends. I have 7.5, two 7.5 inch jumpers right now.
Okay, so the
Interesting.
size. Kevin and I have been talking recently about why, or maybe I talked to myself about this. I don't
Well,
remember. I talk to
I
myself a lot. It's fine.
I always thought 10.5 was like the optimum, like the shortest you possibly could go with 5.56 to get optimum.
In a DI package, yes.
Oh, and okay.
So if we go way back to old timey days, around 2004, 2005,
Hmm.
when pistons, HK 416 hit, and then of course the wave of aftermarket. Adams Arms' first piston upper they built themselves was a 7.5, just to show it was reliable. And in 2004, 2005, they were trying pigtail gas systems and all this other crazy stuff to get DI guns short just to see how short they can get it. None were
Uh,
reliable. They made the 7.5 to show, hey, this is how easy it is with a piston gun because we can adjust the gas and all this other stuff.
oh.
That's their first guns they made was just to show off. Look how reliable it is. I still have like the second 7.5 upper they ever made. So it's what,
So
20
you
years
Wow.
you
old?
have a complete. I thought it was a conversion. That's how I
No.
knew them.
No, I have like
Wow.
one of the second one they ever made, Jim Granger. He's like, "Hey, try this out." I still have it. It's got their first generation bolt carrier in it and all
That's
this other
super
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, it
That's
should be in a
really cool.
museum by now. It's got a bolt-on gas block, which civilians are like, "Oh, that'll never work." And this is 20 years old and it still runs like a
Well,
top.
you could probably back those screws all the way out, and the carbon's just holding it.
It's
It'll be
holding
fine.
it together probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. That's how I used to seal gas blocks. I just mag dump and be like, "Yeah, it's probably fine now."
Interesting.
Well, so
Wow. Okay.
that's one thing I've been thinking about lately is when you start shrinking the AR-15. In my mind, the AR-15, and feel free to disagree. Actually, everybody, feel free to disagree with me. This makes this show a lot more fun. We have more to talk about.
Oh, if we disagree.
Yeah. So I think in my mind, I might I might be biased, but I think AR-15s work best as 20-inch rifles. Or, like, there's 4 options, like 20-inch rifles, 14.5-inch midi or carbines, and then 16-inch midis. I think those are the most well fleshed out, at the very least, designs. I think once you start shortening it more and more, you start requiring pistons. You start requiring solutions because you're shortening the gun so much. But I would when you start getting the gun that small, I don't know that I want an AR anymore. D I don't know that it does the things I want it to do, because once I get a gun that small, I don't know that I want a fixed buffer tube. Maybe folding it in half does make sense to me. I'm not trying to shoot it folded. I'm trying to put it in the back seat of my car under my luggage. Like, it's not.
You start playing, you
Mm,
gotta once you go that short,
okay.
you gotta really ask yourself, what's the distance you would plan on engaging threats at?
Using.
Right.
So if it's beyond 200 yards,
Mhm.
yeah, you might be rolling with a 10-3, 10-5, as short as you're gonna go. But
Okay.
if it's under 100 yards or 150, you can look at other stuff. You can look at like the MP7, things like that. Even submachine guns, which are kind of like out of favor.
Mhm.
I think it really looks at the average distance that the threat you're expecting.
So when you're
Hmm.
trying to take a 7.5-inch AR on a deployment, are you worried about trying to communicate with people? Like,
No,
are you worried about the
Eh,
gun being too loud?
no, and it's actually if you watch any videos where I shoot the 7.5, it's got half the gas blast of a DI gun because it's piston and all the gas
Mm,
is being bled out and it's not being burnt and shot out. Less muzzle blast. I guarantee you, if I shot the 7.5
really?
next to a SOCOM, was it 10.3, 10.5?
10.3,
If you
yeah.
just went off muzzle flash and sound, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So
because
that's a
piston's
Okay.
fact that
bleeding
I
out the gas after it's used. It knocks
Right.
the op rod and then it's bled out. Its job is done.
Okay. Yeah.
interesting. Don't AKM tubes do that? They have the vents past the expansion chamber. Is that what I'm
Yeah, I
thinking?
mean, they have
Yeah.
little
Day
vents,
is.
it's
Yeah.
things like that.
Okay,
But
so that's interesting. So you're saying that that is affecting muzzle blast then, because I guess yeah, of course it would, because it comes out and burn.
Hmm.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Wow. I learned something new today.
yeah,
See,
that's
that's
why another
been
reason I'm a fan of piston, and pistons are kind of taking a back seat again, really in the civilian world,
okay,
due to price and things like that. And of course,
fair.
military, that's where they're all going. But
Right.
yeah,
That's
Huh.
interesting. So, I mean, effectively, every rifle that I'm seeing come out is effectively an AR-18. I mean, we're just getting short
Yeah.
stroke, foldy stock, modular. Well, I mean, modular AR-18s, I guess. But so, hmm, that's actually very interesting. I guess that's one thing. IR-15 people, they're keeping their guns pure, but pistons are just kind of the way of the next generation rifles. I mean, all of the next
Makes
gen rifles
sense.
are piston. That's an
they
interesting
are.
proposition. So,
And we're in the era now where really you talk about barrel length, like a 20-inch AR, 14 and a half. We're in the
Mhm.
suppressed era. So if you're not running suppressed tactically, you're wrong anyways. So
right,
regardless of barrel
Okay.
length, once you put a suppressor on, it's all about the weight and the balance and the length.
right.
And I ran a 14.5 inch with the suppressor and it felt like I was shooting a musket. It's very long and ungainly. So
Mm.
you got to go down to like 12 or something. 12.5 is the longest I'd want running an AR suppressed.
That's so interesting. So
Okay.
Kevin and I just
To balance it
had a
out.
conversation.
Interesting.
about what I thought or what we thought was like the ideal rifle, and my argument was 13, 12 and a half. But
Yeah,
that's
somewhere
also because
around
of
there.
100s.
That way you run it suppressed and it's not going to be
Right.
too long and you have all the benefits of a suppressor.
Hmm.
Do you have a lot of experience with
Okay.
12.5, like mid-length or carbine gas suppressed
Uh,
guns?
Yes.
no, I mean, I'm pretty generic. I ran the Block 2s and the Mark 18s.
Okay.
And personally, most of my guns are actually now 16-inch. I have a few pin and welded 14.5s, which I think are great.
Mhm.
I'm behind the times. I don't own my own suppressor. Griffin Armament is setting me up with one to do a review on sometime, so I'll finally own my own suppressor.
Oh,
We don't
cool.
either. We're hoping soon.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So now in stepping let's put a hard line between the civilian and the military.
Military. Yeah.
As
Okay.
if we're not considering full auto fire, and I'm not thinking military logistics, and I'm not thinking having to play
Just
nice with somebody else's supply chain, right? What caliber and rifle are you choosing for you in your life currently?
Well, based on my experience, I'm totally comfortable with 5.56.
Okay.
I mean, I know how it flies. I'm comfortable shooting out to 550 with it easy. And again, I'm a P for plenty guy. I'd rather have more ammo on me and just ventilate
Mm,
the threat and drive it down.
okay.
I'm in full favor of that over their one shot precise kill type thing.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So,
I like that.
Kevin, based on so based on what we have so far, do you have an idea? What's your thought?
I think the rifle I have, my 16-inch, cobbled together AR and 5.56, because I'm familiar with it. I shoot it, and I know what it's gonna do. And for what I'm gonna use it for personally, 16 inches is completely fine. That's nothing silly with it.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I thought I knew. I really did. Now I don't know. I'm thinking there's a lot of validity in volume of fire. I mean, even not for suppressive fire use, if I have X amount of bullets, more bullets is awesome, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
But
I
I
like
was
that mentality that you're giving out, Jeff, that, just put it in them until they stop doing what they're doing.
for plenty. We
Yeah.
Yep, P for plenty.
we might
Dude, I
have to
love that.
adopt that. We'll give you credit every time, but we're definitely adopting that. I quite like that.
Yep.
So that's really interesting. All right.
That's why
Well,
when I see Army units going back to double taps, the
right.
Army already recognized an early GWAT that was ineffective.
Okay. So
So
you've brought
it
me
hurts my
square into what I
soul.
wanted to talk about.
Or
Yeah, it hurts my soul when I see that type of shooting going on.
do you
So
think they're
what
doing that for because of the M7, and they think that they're just
No,
gonna
no,
have
I
the
mean, that's just, I mean, the M7's only in a few select units right now. You can
okay.
go on YouTube and just watch normal Army units and everybody else in SF just double tapping, and we know it does not work. It's yeah, it can work in some circumstances, but driving the threat down is what works.
So what has happened from GWAT to now? Because it was almost like there was this tactical revolution that happened around that time where everybody was like, "Whoa, we need to train with like competitive shooters, and it's not just the tactical is the only way to go." Like, I mean, Rob Latham. I mean, probably trained some people. I mean, and we hear Ben Steger now. I mean, he's probably the most vocal voice. Joe Park and other USPSA, no experience in a Leo or direct conflict or direct action role at all. Just really good at pulling triggers. And one thing I've said, and I still believe, is that the mechanics of shooting a gun and putting something very quickly on a target is is its own craft, and you can study that and still be a practitioner as a law enforcement agent or a soldier. But being really good at shooting is probably a good idea, and people that do it all the time are probably pretty good at teaching it. Now, They probably should not be telling you how, tactically, how that should apply. But the mechanics of pulling the trigger, you should be able to maybe appreciate what they're doing, or at least that's been my opinion. I don't know. I mean, how much are you able to, or how do you present that, or how do you approach that in a team when you're trying to have a bunch of hardened SF guys being taught by a competitive shooter? All he does is paper targets. What do you do about that?
Well, there's actually my time in. There wasn't an issue when I first got into SF in '98. There was. If you did any type of competitive shooting, they were like, "Hey, you're a gamer," and I was told by fellow Green Berets, "Hey, that gamer stuff's going to get you killed in combat and all this other drivel." And that goes back to guys don't want to get
I
their
love that
feelings
word.
hurt when they go to a gun match and they get completely raped by a
Mm,
bunch of civilians. So
yep.
they generically would poo-poo it. Hey, they discounted it. But
Mm,
that attitude has really completely died out all the way through the time I was in SF. And in SF, they recognized, hey, competitive shooting is a fundamentally way to really increase one's lethality. It transfers over. So that attitude, thankfully, has shifted out of special operations, and it's nowhere near what it was like when I first came in. There were guys adamantly, totally against it, but there was a huge shift. Everybody was getting on board, and if you go to matches around Fort Bragg where there's a lot of soldiers, more soldiers are going to matches than I've ever seen before. So it's pretty well recognized. Competitive shooting is a valid tool.
Oh, wow, that's
So,
really interesting.
well, it's interesting. When I was shooting USPSA, I'd have SWAT guys coming in. I mean, not that I knew them, but I knew they were on SWAT teams, and they came in and they were in gear and they ran the matches with their gear, not like full armor, but like they'd have their setup, and that's how they ran it. And it's so. How then do you go about delineating between tactics and just shooting? How are you teaching? Because I mean, taking a class from a USPSA guy and taking a class from an active duty, I guess somebody that you're going to have to clear a house with. How how are you marrying those two? How mentally? Because I mean, there's we talk. I've heard you a number of times mention training scars. What does that mean?
Mm,
Well, it's one, when you think tactics, the military is focused on team tactics. It's not individual. It takes a team.
Right.
So when you're looking at weapon handling and shooting, that's an individual skill. And then you just work that into the team. Military, you're going to be successful if you fight tactically as a team. Independent tactics don't mean so much. So when I say tactics, it's all about what the team does. So individual skill taken into the team context is already divided up.
mm. So I
Interesting.
mean, so you
So
can be
it's
like,
more incumbent upon you.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, you can be like the best shooter in the world, and if your team tactics are garbage, then the team's gonna suffer because of that.
Yes. If your
Okay.
collective tactics are amateur hour, then you could be a fantastic shooter. Well, your tactics are going to fail you and fail you fast.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
I think maybe that needs to be how it's or how I need to approach it is the mentality shift in that it's not that we're doing tactical training. It's we're practicing tactics with guns. And the guns and that skill and that craftsmanship and that I don't know, what would you call that? Like discipline? That discipline is
Yeah.
included
Discipline.
but not. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. Well, so I guess that's really hard to delineate in the civilian side is understanding that because I'm not worried about trying to clear a house. I do not want to clear my house. That sounds like a terrible
Well,
idea.
well, I think civilian side, you talk about these team tactics. I mean, it's hard to find people that you're going to trust when your life, if you're clearing a building, clearing a house. I think the self-preservation aspect is really, really heightened when you're a civilian. Like, if I have a
Right.
chance to leave somewhere, I'm gonna get the fuck out of there. I'm not gonna stand around and try and be like, "Hey guys, we gotta go clear this building." Fuck that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
leave.
take my family, get the hell out.
So I think
Well,
that's kind of where the shift is: civilian versus the military when it comes to teams.
well, I think it's a bravado thing too.
Uh,
I think as a whole, it's
well,
more like, well, you're not gonna fuck with my shit.
yeah.
Hmm. Well, I guess the tactical I don't know. I don't know how well, Jeff, so in terms of CQB, are you are you practicing or were you practicing general CQB tactics and is this general rule of thumb like, hey, we're stacking up on this store, we go in, we and if it's this X amount, we do this formation and going in. And then am I wrong in assuming if you had a target, it's something that you're training specifically around?
Uh, if they get advanced intel, which wasn't going on in Afghanistan, yeah, you could practice specifically around it. That's something we did in the early days of GWAT in Iraq. We would spend a lot of time reconning a target. I mean, we'd go out and do all this low level videotaping stuff, find out where the doors are, this and that, and then we could specifically rehearse taking down that building. But
Is
that's old
this
timey days.
okay? So this is like tradecraft, like you're walking around and you're trying to figure this shit out, like
Yeah, and that a
plainclothes
lot of
or
that went on, and then Afghanistan's a completely different story, but, is the importance on getting the building layout and knowing this and that, or is the importance on practicing good techniques that are flexible, that way you're ready for anything. It's really techniques that are flexible and not built off of a script. A lot of CQB training is a script. Hey, one man, you're going to go this, two man, you're going to do that, three, you're going to do this. Well, great. That's wonderful. But you have to react against how the enemy fights. And if they don't want to play your way, then your tactics could be complete drivel.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you see a lot of that in Iraq? Like you would like have this like planned out scripted CQB one minute, and you can go into a building and it just be a complete clusterfuck, and you'd have to change on the fly.
We actually we I caught Iraq at a good time because that's when we did start to go to all these other crazy schools like Darcy and things like that. So when we started actually clearing buildings and things like that, we were pretty flexible. Like we did a lot of things that guys would probably completely scoff at and throw up in their mouth over, but stuff that worked. We went back to strong walling, which is a technique, not going along into the house. Because strong walling, you could fit the whole ODA into a large room. Why go in with 4 guys into a room if you can bring the entire team? And things like that. And
more than
holding
a super
hallways, which
plenty.
yeah, holding hallways, which is something that's not really taught that well or much anymore. They're back to get out of the hallway and all this other stuff. Uh, so we were pretty well versed, during my time in Iraq.
Wow.
So how much training are you guys doing with that? And when I ask, obviously, I mean when you imagine you're doing this tomorrow, like how much are you actually dedicating to clearing houses when you're not on like you're not going and you're training? How much of
It
your time is spent on
That
that?
that's a hard question to answer because there's so many different things that you might be responsible to be able to do in SF.
Okay.
CQB might be bottom of the barrel. There's so much other stuff going out there. CQB is the shiny object. That's why
Mhm.
everybody joined SF in the late 2000s. They want to get their gunfight on. But really, there's so many other, even cooler things you could be doing out there. It depends on the team's mission. If you already know in advance what you're going to be doing, well, that might
Mm,
become the emphasis.
okay.
Uh, for me, I love shooting and I love practicing CQB. So we did CQB heavy training, but there's some teams out there that their job is not to gunfight. They have really other things they need to be doing that are could be more important. So it
Mhm.
really depends if you know what your mission is going to be prior to going over somewhere.
Okay. Now,
Interesting.
when you have time as an instructor for what school was it?
Sephardic.
Okay. So can you walk me through whatever it is that you can about that?
Well, it's mandated. It's not, it's there, but they don't have the mandate anymore. Hostage rescue. So that is the school that's going to certify you for the SIF or the CRIF, and that's your charter to be able to go in and take down buildings and do multi breach point CQB. Uh, so yeah, that's it. That is the schoolhouse.
That's interesting. So
I like that.
so you're not are you a firearms instructor there or are you a tactics instructor?
I was a firearm, so I was head of the flat range. So we called it combat marksmanship. 2 weeks of that prior to going into the CQB phase.
Okay. So,
Wow.
and is that a mechanical, like that's the shooting mechanics, like what they need to be able to do
Yep.
before they
Yep.
can go do the rest of it?
Yep.
Okay, so what kind of requirements in term I don't mean necessarily cold requirements, but the psychological load. What are you looking for them to be able to do? Because I mean, you're
Mm.
running around with other dudes, which I mean the army is spending a shitload of money on you people. So how much training do they need and mentally, cognitively, what do they need to go into a house with a gun? What are you looking for in them?
Well, it's really, I wouldn't call it the basics, but they have some things they gotta be able to do. Like, take a headshot at, like, 10 yards moving with a pistol, go flow into a room and shoot multiple shots at each target while moving, or it could be static. There's certain tasks they have to be able to say, "Hey, this is a you're demonstrating a minimal marksmanship capability, so you don't have to worry about if they have safe weapon handling or effective marksmanship where they'll be a hazard to their other teammates. That
Right,
way
or
we
they
can
wouldn't be
focus
there
some of the
anyway.
training once we put them together as a team. So really you're just
Okay.
demonstrating that you're not a
Okay.
window licker with a handgun
Or not a handgun licker.
or a rifle. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
rifle. So, okay, as an instructor, now granted, I can totally respect that you have a very big job as an instructor, but when you're actively teaching in that role, are you then seeking instruction or are you trying to observe other instructors? How are you keeping your material relevant? Because I have and not I don't mean this in any kind of way. I have no idea. So as an instructor, how do you structure that for I mean, again, I don't have a frame of reference here, but how do you present that material to guys that are sending out or going out?
I showed up at a huge transition. So there was a ton of combat vets who were already there teaching.
Okay.
And actually, if you compared my combat experience to a lot of the fellow instructors, I was actually on the low end.
Okay.
But, I was super into competitive shooting at the time and things like that, so I could outshoot all these guys in the flat range, and they're like, "Hey, that's what you want. Get to them to a point where they can rock it on the flat range."
Mhm.
But I did, of course, marry up the POI to match what they're gonna teach in the house, like driving the threat down with a 5-round string. Double taps are out. So on the
Right.
flat range, I need to get them so they can drive the threat down and get good hits. That way, when they get to the shoot house, they're not just feathering away on the trigger and hoping for the best.
Okay. I
That's
like that.
interesting. So, are you really trying to drive 5 specifically as a number, or is that's just
It was
there's
it was back then, and that was just to conserve ammo. But
okay.
you've got to practice some sort of string. Otherwise, I've seen it before. If you don't practice regularly when you are presented with with a threat, you are naturally going to keep shooting until you visually see a response.
Okay.
So if you don't practice long strings of fire, you're going to feather away on the trigger. That's where you end up with weak hits. You'll be peppering all around the body. Whereas if you regularly practice, well,
Uh,
then you can hold it in the chest area and drive it down.
gotcha.
See,
Okay.
I have felt that in my shooting because I used to be not a high volume shooter, but a relatively high volume shooter. And then I've since had a beautiful son, been married, had a lot of stuff going on, re-ingratiating myself back into the shooting hobby and art. It's not a hobby, it's self-defense, it's art. It's something that needs to be respected and observed. And I notice in my objective shooting that, oh my God, I suck. But also I definitely have noticed that I start getting tired way quicker. I get like 4 rounds in and my fingers like, "What are we doing? Why are you still shooting?" But that's a problem. That's that training scar we're
And
talking about.
interesting.
Yep, it's just building that automatic response. That's why if I see units doing double taps, what happens is, okay, they double tap the threat, they don't see any visual response, then they get into that panic feathering the trigger. Whereas
And
if
then
you regularly practice it, now it's controlled burst.
okay, I see. I see what you're saying. So if they do the double taps and they're like they do dot dot, they don't see anything happen and they're panic and they just and their bullets are just going wherever the hell the bullets are
Yep,
gonna
yep.
fly.
Where if you make it a trained response out the gate, well,
You
then
can
you
hit
can
them
control
all in
it a
the
lot better.
same all in the same like
They're all
6-inch area.
intentional shots. It's not
Yep,
panicking.
yep.
Gotcha. I like
Huh.
this. Yeah. I'm gonna incorporate that into my flat range stuff now.
Okay, so
I'm gonna start
how?
do
How do we incorporate this?
Yeah.
You just like I haven't done training in like 2 years, but when I was running my courses regularly, every course of fire had a different round count. I had some drills with double taps. I had drills where they're shot 4 times each. I've had drills like 15 rounds of fury out the gate. You're shooting 5 round strings, so you
Mm.
just got to vary it up. Now in competitive shooting, everything gets two hits. Uh, and then in the tactical world, bounce around, but it's all practice. Just don't sit there and do double taps forever. And another big, it was a small little change, but a huge mindset shift. When people think double taps, that's 2 shots. No, a double tap or controlled pair, whatever you want to call it, is 2 effective hits in the kill zone. So if you double tap and one is in the heart and lungs and the other one's in the knee, well, then now you're going to make it a 3 round string because double tap means two in the kill zone. So just changing the
Interesting.
terminology will help it too. So if you take two
Words mean
shots and
things.
it felt funny, you give them a
Yeah.
third, give them a fourth. Don't hesitate.
That's interesting. I
Okay.
noticed that I noticed something to that effect in my competitive shooting was I would when novice again, I would do a target transition. I would come off the last round and I'd start moving and I'm like, I know that was like I know where that second one was. Instead of just because it was already a double, I'm like, oh, I shoot this thing twice. And then I change. Even if it's Comstock or even whatever count it is,
Mm.
it would have behooved me to unfuck my shit and send another round. But no, that was a fucking mic because I suck.
Yeah, if it felt funny, it
Yeah.
was probably a weak hit or a miss. Just
Oh
give it
my
another one.
God.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to just drive the threat down. If you're sending rounds that are just doing, ineffective damage, you're really not.
So just
It's not
building
being
ballistic
effective.
confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what it's hard to I don't know, I guess it's hard to really visualize until it happens, but you are gonna go off of visual stimuli that the threat is
Mhm.
reacting to your bullets. Your brain is gonna keep telling you to shoot, shoot, shoot until you see visually a response. They start falling, they drop what they're doing. It's a natural response. You watch any video of cops shooting, and you're like,
Right.
wow, that cop gave him 8 rounds from his pistol. Well, he gave him eight
Right.
rounds because he didn't start seeing a reaction till bullet number 5 or 6.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because he can't tell what's going on, but I mean, he can,
Yeah.
hit him somewhere critically, and they're not gonna,
You're
they're
not
not
gonna
gonna.
know. You're
Yeah, you're
not
not
gonna
gonna
know.
know.
When bullets pass through clothing, you can't see it,
Yeah.
especially at room distance.
Yeah.
And unless you hit a major artery and they just start exploding with blood, you're
Yeah.
gonna see their clothes flap a little bit if you're paying attention. You're not looking for that. You're looking for major
Yeah.
muscle movements of them dropping.
So
Yeah.
Tom Givens talks about the different kinds of stops and the three, the psychological, the physical. So like lights out, you hit them, or blood pressure loss, and that's interesting. Interesting thinking about like how you affect targets. So in terms of target shot placement, so and I bring up the psychological stops because it's not like it is in the movies, and it's not like it is in any shooting video. You can see that Jeff, excellent points. That target selection is really important when you're training because in my mind, I mean, Tom Gibbons also talks a lot about target selection, being very very diligent with what you're shooting at or what you're practicing shooting at. And when it's humanoid, you need to get the maximum training value out of that. And one target I'm very interested in. Actually, I might just have to buy a shitload of these. They're the they're just the pictures basically, and then they have the very faintly grayed out kind of very faint target standard like belt line. They're kind of like the FDLE or not yet
Mhm.
FDLE. You know which one I'm talking about, but where it's got the belt line and then like the lungs and shit, and then the triangle. So are you changing your? Are you concerned with your target selection, or are you
Uh,
changing? How are you approaching that when you're trying to like we talk about keeping things or trying to stay away from you know dichotomy or like
When I see people
scars?
walking around, I see an A zone on them.
Okay,
So
okay,
An
nice.
A zone on a USPSA target sits high where it should be.
right,
It's not complete center mass in the target. So when people walking around, I literally see A zones on people, and that's what I'm aiming for.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it literally it's just a mass issue. It's the bullets probably need to go about here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throw
And
your
everybody,
optic at the base of the neck and hold on tight.
Yeah,
okay.
and I mean that's why I like your strings of fire idea because I'm thinking about it, and I mean I work in the medical field, so I've seen a lot of different body types, more body types than I probably want to think about right now. But you're definitely right in like like there's targets you have like they're like the carb like they're like the standard, but everybody's body is completely different. So I again I go back to I love that P for plenty straight of fire. Just keep
We
sending
need to
them
make that a
until
shirt. That's
until
incredible.
it might. Yeah, hey, that's actually not a bad idea if we get
Yeah, Jeff,
Jeff's
you need to make
blessing.
that a shirt, and I will buy
I
many.
need to now. Yeah, P for plenty.
That's incredible. I
Dude,
love that, and it
that would
needs
be
to be a
amazing.
selector, and it just say plenty.
Yep.
Yep,
That would be so good. Well, Jeff, we've taken up a lot of your time. We are so incredibly grateful that you've come on. I mean,
very
we're
grateful.
big fans. Um, but I don't want to keep you for too much longer. But I do want you to plug yourself. If people somehow know me and not you, please tell them where to find you so they can enjoy all the amazing historical firearms content that you share.
Well, it's Modern Tactical Shooting on YouTube. I have a subreddit, Modern Tac Shooting, and on Facebook, I'm also Modern Tactical Shooting. So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm the only real modern tactical shooting floating around out there.
Well, it makes
It's
you easy to
awesome.
find. So, all right. Well, we're gonna get into our second like dealio where Kevin and I have to remember to plug the thing that we forgot to plug at the top of the episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
Excellent.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool. So now we're gonna do the thing that is good. So how do we do this? What are we doing here, Kevin? Are we just gonna say?
well, we have
Uh,
Eastern Shore Sling
oh yeah,
Company
we have
on our
friends that
10% discount.
like us and want to give you discounts. Eastern Shore Sling Co. I don't know what the thing is.
Carry handle is
There
the
it is.
discount code.
I'm good
And
at this.
and they
You
make
could
really
tell I'm a
cool
professional.
they make slings in Rhodesian bush stroke. So
Oh, and they're
that's
magical. His mount. We're
I have
Maryland
one.
boys, so we gotta like them. But and then we also have Hammy 3D Prints. He's a big friend of the channel. The Carry Handle Gang, I believe, is 10% off. That was a terrible. I was late. It was late,
It,
and I was trying to come up with a funny.
yeah, but his 3D printed is pretty good. All the accessories and stuff he makes are really
Yeah,
good.
he's amazing. I mean, he's a hoot to talk to too. So if you're ever find yourself on a Discord with him, he's a great guy. So, uh, oh my God, if we're supposed to plug something else, I'm so sorry we
I
forgot.
I can't remember
I
anything
don't
else to
know.
plug.
My wife didn't tell my wife. I got fired from all the admin shit lately. So if you're talking to me, I just tell people to
It
talk to my wife
it was
because
an executive
yeah, it was
decision.
probably a good idea. I'm not good at this. I know how not to do that.
And then don't forget we're going to Suppressor Fest in the end of
Yes.
October.
Oh, yeah. We gotta plug all the other things. So we are going to Suppressed Fest, and we will be at Shot Show. So that too. Uh, Suppressed Fest is the most
October 25th.
October something 25th and 26th.
25th, 26th, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a collab thing up with Adam or with NFA review channels soon. So or at some point, I think. I think we're supposed to do that. I don't know. I'm new at this. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I appreciate everybody's patience of the weird nerd online. So, all right. Well, with that, I'd like to wrap the show up. Jeff, thank you so much again. I'd love to have you back on and talk about some more gun stuff.
All
Maybe
right, I
GWAT
appreciate it.
stuff.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we're gonna roll the outro.
Hit it.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Very cool. You should like and subscribe.
On Facebook and Instagram.
And Twitter and Spotify. You should listen there too. If you
Aren't they
heard this on
listening to
Spotify.
this on Spotify right now?
Well, they could be, but there's also YouTube podcasts, so all of the places.
We always forget where we post this stuff.
We don't know where this is. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening to, but you should also like the other places that we are. And
Who are we and what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. So thank you for letting us talk directly into your ear holes.
Ah, right to the brain.
Thanks for listening. Bye.